Welcome back, stock market traders. Thank you for coming back. Let's take a look at some charts for December 30th, 2021. You're looking at the daily chart of the S&P 500. Today was a quiet day up until the very last hour of the day of the trading session with the quick sell-off. Now, still in that upper range, but it closed very close to that range and is just sitting on top of that moving average, the one I talked about in my previous video that I said will be very critical. If you look at the hourly chart, you see what I'm talking about. See that range right there? See that moving average? It's sitting right on it. Tomorrow will be very critical, I think, because if it dips below that support, and below that moving average, it will lose momentum. So a trip or a test to this zone here will be very likely. Take a look at the 15-minute chart. You're looking at the 15-minute chart and you see what I'm talking about. It basically closed right on that 47.80 support level and on top of that moving average. Tomorrow will be very interesting, especially the open. Can we gap up and just stay up in this range? Or are we going to gap down and drop and test this support line right here, which is around 47, 44, which was a previous all-time high? Tomorrow will definitely be a very interesting day. Let's now take a look at the Nasdaq 100. The Nasdaq 100, similar pattern. It closed right below that 16,454 support level. If you look at the hourly chart, you can more clearly see that support level, which I mentioned yesterday. And it closed below that moving average, which was very critical. I said I would consider selling if it dipped below that line. But if you look at the 15-minute chart, it happened like so quickly and it was very impulsive. So that it was very difficult for me to judge the price action around that area. So for me, it will be very tricky tomorrow because it can either gap up and will stay, up here and still trade up here in this tight range, or it will make it even more tricky if we gap down, open lower, and then dip lower if we don't quickly recover back above that support, or in this case will be resistance 16,454. It was a very tricky close because we closed below that 5-day moving average, below that 16,450 level. But then we have some support right below it. For me tomorrow, the way I'm going to play it, if for some reason we open, say, flattish, and then we dip below this line, that will stop me out. I'll place my stop loss below that last support. If we keep trading up here, I will not be adding. I'll keep whatever I have. And my next plan will be to go long or add to my position once we break about that resistance line. It will be a very interesting open tomorrow. For all you long-term investors, we're still going to be in an uptrend, still very bullish. But for those who are short-term traders like myself, I'll be watching that level very closely, especially, like I said, this moving average for any signs of momentum loss. I'll take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Made a new all-time high intraday and quickly reversed lower. It's still sitting on top of this moving average, so there's really nothing bearish about this chart. It's still inside this range. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I kind of expected a pullback to here before going much higher, which will be very normal. And relatively speaking, this is, of all the indices, this is actually the strongest one because it's way up there on top, like I said, way on top of that moving average. Let's now take a look at the Semiconductor Index. This one kind of weak. It tried to push higher and then it dipped below that support line, which has been support for the last few weeks, and it closed below the 5-day moving average. So going forward, it needs to quickly push higher and stay up here. Otherwise, I'll expect a trip to test the 20 and the 10-day moving average. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but still looks good. And finally, let's take a look at the Russell 2000 IWM. This one is trying very hard to stay above these moving averages, the 200 and the 100, try to push higher and reverse lower. Now it's sitting right on top of that 5-day moving average. If we take a look at the hourly chart, we can see that had been tested, was tested twice. Here it came very close, and now it's sitting right on that top of that moving average. If we lose that, if it dips below that, it loses that 221 level. It will definitely find support, should find support if it's strong enough around 218, which will be this support line, and that 20-day moving average. I pay a lot of attention to this short-term moving average. For me, it indicates if it's trading above it, means it's high momentum, dips below it, lower momentum. The trades get very choppy. This pattern, it's still developing, head and shoulders or upside down head and shoulders. For this one, like I said, I would not be interested. I still don't want to buy it. I'm not interested until it proves to me that it can push above that 228 level, which would have to trade above that gap right here indicated by the green box and the 50-day moving average. Once it pushes above that, then I will be looking at it very closely, looking at the price action and look for an entry point. But that's it for today. Good luck tomorrow. Like I said, the open will be very, very interesting. We got lower and can now quickly push higher. That means we have lost momentum. Otherwise, if we keep pushing higher, back to new all-time highs. Thank you guys for watching and good luck tomorrow.